Hello, everyone, and welcome to Courageous Exchanges. I'm Alex.
I'm Joy.
And today we are so excited because we have some very special friends here with us. We are going to be speaking about a conversation that has been very, very popular. The concept of lanes. We've gotten so much feedback and so many comments about that particular conversation. And so we wanted to go ahead and have this conversation again. So we have Zany here with us.
Hi.
Hey.
And we also have Amber here with us.
Hi.
And Amber and Zany are very close friends of mine. Mm-hmm. We spend lots of time having this conversation. And all of us have very different takes. You know, Joy and I started this off a few months ago now, right?
A few months ago.
And it's been developing and growing quite a bit.
Yes. So what about the lanes conversation got y'all talking? Like, what made you say, like, this is something that's interesting to me?
I have a quick story, and I will share. Alex knows this story. I'll make this very short. We had a friend. We went out to a club, and it was like after work and meat packing. I had like a work bag. Like we were after work at the club, and he saw this girl, and she had like low-rise jeans on, crop top, like flat stomach, like Halle Berry haircut. Like she was a bad bitch. And he said, I'm into her. And I was like, that's not your lane. She's at a table. She got bottle service. She's with ball players or basketball, whoever. And we were at the bar, like having Tito's and soda. And I was like, that's not your lane, bro. Like, she doesn't want you. Like, she is over here. Your lane is different. And it's great. She's beautiful and you're an attractive guy, but like, this is not your lane. And you need to understand that. So that's kind of for me where it started.
Got it.
And I reported back to Alex about this story.
And here we are.
And I shared it ever since. And I feel like for me, that's where it started. Because I was like, wow, like this is like a real life depiction of like, this is not your lane in real time.
I had never thought about it like that. And then when she mentioned it, I was like, oh, then I'm like thinking about like, what are the lanes that people fall into?
And it's funny because that exchange happening so many years ago is still so prevalent and has now become like such an important part of any dating, like many dating conversations that we've been having lately. But I think that like it speaks to, again, especially from the male perspective, because I think that many times men need some help understanding their lane.
Like why the crackhead at the gas station feels like you should be his wife.
Exactly.
Audacity.
Every man shoots their shot.
Exactly. But it's like it does kind of inform the conversation around like how we should be thinking about the decisions we make and going ahead and stepping into dating.
Yeah, and I think like knowing your lane also like it has to play into how you perceive yourself a little bit, because it's like if you think that you can pull, you know, that kind of chick, then it's like you think, you know, you're hot shit, which is good, but at the same time, you know, you got to humble yourself a little bit, right? So I think there's also just like, there's
honest.
a disconnect between like how you perceive yourself and how the world or the people around you or the environments like place you.
Do you think that men and women deal with that issue in different ways? Like, do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What? Are you kidding me?
For sure.
The confidence of men is crazy.
Yeah. But it's also interesting in that I feel like although men appear to be way more confident, I actually feel like women are so much like stronger and like have such a stronger presence like as things develop. But the fact that men can like do this Jedi mind trick and trick themselves into thinking.
Yeah.
Because it really is like, I'm confused.
Yeah, like what makes you think that you can talk to me?
Right.
Yeah. How do you think people know? Because so there's a dating coach. I don't know his name. What's his name?
Anwar.
So he said like you have to know how attractive you are, and the way to do that is by thinking of your like the average of your two exes or something like that. And I was like, okay.
Well, if you use that formula,
that's a good formula.
that can get dicey.
But then like it's like knowing what they are. He's like most people are. I think he said are like 3 to 5 or something. Which I was like, damn, that's wild. Or maybe he said like up to 6. But it's low. It's low.
Below 7.
Yeah, below 7. Like nobody. He's like most people are not 9s and 10s, and I'm like, oh. Because I think a lot of people do, like you said, like, you're confident and you're like, I am a 10. And then people are like, no,
But you
by
should
these
think that.
metrics you are
You
a
should
3.
think you're a 10.
You should think you're a 10. And then you should say, but dating,
then-
I
yes,
might be.
yes,
like dating,
yes,
I am a
yes.
10. My dating number is like a.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
confidence
Yes.
of a 10.
Yes.
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 With the realism of like, I'm a 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I wonder, like, but there are other things besides the physical attributes of someone that like factor into their
I think he was talking
ratings,
about
right?
physical
Or was it
attraction.
only physical?
I don't know.
I think for women, I feel like my assumption is that like he's like approaching things from like what like the male gaze is or like how men like perceive or read women.
Right.
So like I'd imagine like physical attributes. It may not be the only thing, but there has to be like that has to be like an
'Cause
important
that's what you see
element,
first.
right?
Yeah.
Like when you're like, oh, instant attraction from a what I assume is like a male's perspective. You know, you looking at their face first and their body first.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like we all watch enough reality shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Pop the Balloon or Find
Yes.
Love. Like I'm very caught up on that. And it's all,
What? Is a new one?
yes,
Yes.
girl, it's
Amber
crazy.
loves
It's on.
this show.
I watched it last night for about 3 hours.
Find
Yes.
love? Okay. I
And
check that
basically,
out.
just it's all physical. So 7 people are in a line. They all have balloons. Someone walks up. If you like them, you don't pop. You
This
don't
is
let
what
them.
we're talking about
You start
yesterday.
popping,
Okay.
and it's like
Yeah.
physical. Like if I don't like your shoes, or I don't like your hair, I don't like anything like that, and it's very misaligned because
Okay.
some of these people like they don't know their lane. Like you
Got
shouldn't
it.
have popped
Absolutely,
this
yeah.
because you have 5 children.
Or you have
my
my
job,
teeth.
yeah.
Or you have 5
teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're looking for love or something.
Got
like
it.
that.
So, like, how you told your friend, like, that's not your lane. Do you feel comfortable having that conversation
Yes.
with people? Okay.
Yes.
Amber is
If I'm your
very,
friend,
yes.
Okay.
very honest and loving.
I'm loving,
and sweet.
but I have to be honest.
No, but I think it's important.
I'm not setting you up as a success for my friend
Yeah.
if I can't be honest with
Right.
you.
And say, like,
Yeah.
this person's
Yeah.
not gonna.
Yeah, and I said it that on site.
Yeah.
In real time, I was like, no, this isn't, she's not for you.
But that makes sense of, like, then being like, oh, well, then now I feel like the wheels start turning of, like, well, who is? Like, what is my
Yeah.
lane?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that person, if they're
Yeah.
dating, are they with somebody in their lane?
Yes.
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 See, I
Happily.
think too, yeah, because it's like what you may see out in the world and find attractive is like 90% of the people also
Yes.
probably find them
Yes.
attractive.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like
Yes.
what you actually end up like dating is always different.
Yes.
And that's like, it's not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's just
Right.
like, that's just
It's
the
just a
reality.
reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do think that spending the time I think there's a lot more useful conversation around like, what is your lane? Like,
Yeah.
instead of talking about what's not your lane. So
Right.
we've established that, like, you know, the guy that everybody likes is not your lane. Like, everyone thinks he's attractive. That's fine. Let's spend more time talking about what actually is your lane, because I think that there's that conversation around like, what do you like? Because that is part of, identifying your lane. And also who likes you and who do you have connections with? That's a lot of work.
Yes.
Who likes you is a lot of work. Because of
why do
the
they like you?
boldness of men,
Yeah.
sometimes like it's an old toothless man. And
Yes.
I don't think that's my lane. I'm not believing
no, I
it.
hope not.
Not the guy
It's
not
definitely
the guy that
That's
likes
not a
everybody.
lane.
Right. Yeah. He likes everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody, you're right.
Yeah. But I think that's part of it too, is like, and why does the person like you? Because I think that's part of it too. Sometimes, I've had conversations with people like, there's people who date out of need, survival, versus like dating because you actually want to have a connection with someone and
Right.
grow
Yeah.
and, build partnership. And I think that a lot of women that I do speak to are even stuck in that space, right? And be able to like question themselves and like the people that they're dating around, like, is this really, something that we're growing towards, something meaningful, or is this like a person who's using me? Because there's a lot of that too.
Okay. So how do you find out your lane? I feel like y'all are the lane.
Step
I think
one.
it's numbers. I think it's like numbers. Like I feel like dating is a numbers game. Like the more times you date, the more people you date, the more types of people you date, you'll be able to like figure things out. So the more times you shoot, the more shots you
Yes.
take, the more shots you'll make.
Okay.
But if you just like, I dated 2 people in 2 years, like you have no idea because you haven't dated enough
Got it.
to understand like what's your lane or different types of people. That's I think it's like,
So you got to be out there doing. You
you
got to do the work.
Yes, you have to do the work. You have
gotta
to go
do
out
the
there,
work,
to go out to
okay.
where they are,
Yeah.
where you like to go, where you think the people that you like to go are going.
I think it also depends on like who you end up like connecting with when you're at the bar or like whatever, right? Like there, or online dating or what have you, it is a numbers game. And I also think that literally as I do this now in my life, but I feel like it's also like you have to allow yourself to be open to like, okay, I don't know, but let me just okay, it's like 1 or 2 days, and let me like feel it out. Okay. You know what I mean?
Because I trial and error.
Yeah, because I think also even within your lane, you could be like, oh, I'm like more attracted to somebody who's like really witty or like has a really great sense of humor, right?
Because you got to be funny,
right? So, but then maybe like something else is like whatever, I don't know, or maybe they're like not ambitious, and you're like, ooh, okay, this is not
a problem.
Yeah, for me. So I feel like there's also just like this trial and error, but I feel like it's like an aggregate of like who you dated in the past, who you end up talking to when you're out at a bar, who you're currently dating, and then you kind of just have to like figure out, okay, what's like the average of that. Yeah, it's numbers. It's a math game.
It's all math. Y'all know I love math. Yeah, it's all math.
It's all math. I also think about like women who though are too fixed in the things that they're looking for.
Right, you have to be open.
You gotta be open to it. Like flexible. The guy, like you, of course, every man you date has to be 6'5" and above. Like that's, what about
the short king?
A short king.
My cousin did say she was gonna start dating less attractive men because she felt like
less attractive.
Oh, wow.
She said she felt
just the way that less attractive is like, oh, a little jarring.
It's funny that we went from short king to less attractive.
They're not one in the same.
I don't know. They're not one in the same. No, but she was saying, I think the thought is like my lane or like who I'm attracted to is the guy that everybody likes.
Right.
And maybe if I find somebody that a few people like, maybe it'll be different. I'll have different results.
I think it really does.
Not a short king.
The short kings are out here and they're trying to get chose. I see them really trying hard, like in the bars, and they're friendly and nice. And
like a dog.
Friendly and nice.
You know what? I'm not trying to be patronizing to the short kings.
No, of course
but
not.
There's a lot of really nice short kings that aren't getting a chance.
Right.
And we should be open.
I'm not open.
Not me, but
the single.
I feel like Zany is of a certain height, and so she could align well.
Is height a thing for you?
When I was younger, yes, it was. But
the short girls like a tall.
Which was
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I got to like 30 and I was like, okay, this is kind of silly. Like, why?
What was your height? What was your height?
It was just like you have to be like, I don't know, like 5'10" or like 6. Like the people that I had dated, like in like college and after college, were all like significantly taller than me.
Okay.
Significantly taller than me. Like I dated somebody that was like 6'5", and it's like this actually makes no sense. Right. Like when I took myself out of it, I was like, I'm literally 5'3". Like, and also I do not want to wear heels every time I see them.
Right.
So, you'll be in a house or whatever. And you're like, damn, I'm hella short. Like it's just like I look like their child.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, like when I hit 30, I was just like, this is silly. And then I dated a lot of people. I had a lot of great experiences with people who were way below 6 feet. And obviously, I'm shorter, so I had no issues. So I'm very happy that I got to a point where I was like, this is actually just like some arbitrary number that actually means nothing.
Yeah.
Because you can find an asshole that's 6 feet. You can find an asshole that's 5'2". And like, you can find a really great guy that's 5'7", and you can find a really great guy that's 6'2". Like, it's all relative.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need to... get some love.
Okay, so it's numbers. What about, so I think that dating in general is a very regional thing. Like I feel like where you live makes a difference in who you date and how you date.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree.
Dating in New York City is not for the weak.
It's not for the weak, but it's not impossible.
It's not.
But it's not for the weak.
Right.
It's not.
It all takes work.
Yes.
It all takes work. And now you've added math. But now I'm stressed.
Work
and math. And I think also like some openness, right?
Yeah.
So like you gotta really like think about what it is that you're looking for and like what kind of think about like obviously physical attraction is extremely important, but then once you get past that, because New York has many attractive men walking around, but then really start thinking about like what are like the personality traits and like the way that you want to be treated and loved on and as part of that work. Because
I don't know that some people do that. Like I'm thinking about single women I know, and I'm like, I don't think they spend enough time thinking about personality. It's like physical.
Well, that's the thing.
True. Or financial.
Yeah. A lot of talk
Especially
about financial.
Especially in
New York is like big financial events.
Yeah. Because you need somebody else to live.
And it's like a shame because at the end of the day, you can, not to be, too casual about it, you can always make more money, right? Like you could get out there and find a way, but like essentially what it comes down to is like, who do you want to partner with and like have a life with? And that is such a big and difficult decision. And the fact that like, sometimes I talk to women and that are just like, again, just focused on what a person looks like and not really, thinking about what long-term or what a relationship, forget about long-term, what a relationship would look like with that person. So New York is, like I said.
I will say though, I feel like some people are also just in very like superficial relationships and that's like
surface relationships.
Yeah, and who's to say if that's what they want or don't want, I don't know, but like not a lot, but there are people who are in like superficial relationships. So like if you're approaching dating with that mindset, you might just also end up energetically also attracting that. Right. And then that you just might end up in that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So
it's like social media relationships. That's what I kind of call it. Like
absolutely.
All these like social media people in relationships, like
it's for the likes.
Just for the likes, just for the looks, just for like
and
relationship goals. All of that stuff, and that's not really real. Because if you know them in real life, then you'll understand like, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because you'll see things
in real life, like, wait a minute, that wasn't on social media.
Out here. Okay, but
also such a big reason why like people shouldn't compare themselves or their relationships. That is such a major piece. Like people have full on arguments and like cause chaos in their homes off of what they're watching somebody else do on social media.
I've done it before. Like, I'm not immune to it. I've definitely done it before. But
yes, I mean, I definitely have had like the why don't you post it?
Exactly. Like somebody did this. So like I need to like check myself, but it's not real.
Right.
It's not real.
That person.
It's hard though.
Has a camera
it is hard because social media, and I think Amber and I have had this conversation, is that social media is part of your life at least, right? Like, so there is this dance that you're doing in a relationship where you're like, to post, to not to post. Why aren't you posting me? Why did you post this? Well, there's that part of it. And I think it's not a science. Right. I don't think that like it's black or white.
No, especially I feel like in our age because we came up with social media being millennials. Like Gen Z is like, it's all social media. So like that's the rule that's already embedded into the relationship.
MySpace ruined it when you were somebody's top whatever number.
Like top whatever 10. And then our parents are like, Facebook, they just post their children or grandchildren and that's it. But we like came up with it. So it's a factor now, but some people it's not a factor, some people it is because it's like kind of new. So it just depends on how you want to handle it.
But back to the regional thing. Yeah. So do you think, the dating, Anwar also talks about like your attractiveness depends on where you live.
Yes.
So like if you're a 10 in New York, you're like if you're like a 10 in New York, you might be like an 8 in LA or something like that. Or like if you're a 10 in Atlanta, you're a 8 in New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree?
Yes.
I think so.
I think the values in each city are a little different. Like what is perceived to be like attractive in each city is different.
The threshold is like different.
So in New York, you could be a little edgier. You could be like maybe short hair, maybe whatever. But in LA, I feel like it's like you got to have everything done, tight, filled up. Everything's like a different look.
Tucked, plumped.
Enhanced.
When I was like, this is years ago, but I went to school in LA, and then when I moved out here, again, this was also like during the whole like sort of natural hair movement. People started like wearing like their natural hair to work and stuff. But one of the first things I noticed when I got to New York, and kind of like just like the East Coast, DC as well, is like girls were out here with like their cute natural hair, look, style, and like men loved it.
Right.
In LA, at the time at least, it wasn't really like that.
Yeah.
Like, I had a weave. Like, it would just felt like you had to like fit a certain look.
Definitely. And I see that quite a bit when I'm in LA too. It's like all of the women are like look very similar. Like they have to fit a certain look. And even I've looked like even like the black women I notice are like making sure that they even fit a certain type of look too. And I'm just like, wow, there isn't a lot of variety. I think what I love about New York is like,
yes.
You can find your thing. You can find whatever you're into. You can find it.
Whatever your lane is, whatever you like, you can find it.
There's so many lanes in New York.
Yes.
I feel like that. I feel like Atlanta is now. There's so many black women with BBL. Like everybody's ass is ridiculous.
Wild.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
like the
there's
norm.
It's like you go someplace and you're almost like, I didn't see 10 BBLs today. Are they home? What's going on? Are they sick?
Yeah. The BBL community.
Yeah. But there's so many. You go to a party or an event or something, there's so many black women that look the same. And like having natural hair, sometimes I'm like, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
You start to feel like pressure.
I'm like,
you don't realize it.
Right. You do. It's like maybe I wear braids more often or something like that. Because it's really like women have long straight hair and BBLs.
Right.
And now they're doing fillers. So lips are really plump. That's what I was going
to say. Now it's black women also like getting their lips done. And it's a norm. And I even think sometimes it's seen as like a status symbol. Like you're doing well because like you could go get this work done. And it's such a departure from, again, coming from New York, where of course, there's people, having work done, but it's just not as prevalent yet.
No, it's
at
like
least in my community and where I, am roaming around, I don't see it as much as I do definitely in Atlanta.
Remember you came in the first, I don't know if it was, I think it was the first time you came, we went to brunch on a Friday.
Yeah. 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
And she was like, what is happening?
She texted me, and I was like, what is happening? What are you doing?
There were full beats.
That's what you were saying.
Full beats, butts,
not on a
lips. On a Friday morning. I think it was like 12.
Yeah.
That's why.
Like full, like restaurant full of people. Yeah. We looked really regular.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like almost like we were in pajamas.
There. Yeah. Right. But if you were in New York and you took your same fits and went to New York, you probably wouldn't feel regular. You'd fit right in.
It was just like, and that is what going out there is. I imagine it's like, I've been to LA a few times, but I feel like it's similar in that it's the black women. Very interesting.
I think in keeping in that regional vibe, now focusing more so on Atlanta, there was a situation that came up a few months ago that I thought was super interesting. You and I had went out to dinner. I was in Atlanta on a Friday night at a beautiful restaurant. We were, had a nice dinner, really, really nice. It was filled with both men and women, some in couples, some single. But what I took note of was the fact that there were tables and tables of single black women fully dressed to the nines. I'm talking hair done, cocktail dresses, heels, beautiful, cute outfits, like dressed and just like enjoying dinner on their own on a Friday night. Some were sitting at like in the piano bar area, just like having some wine and, alone.
And there was one woman who was sitting by herself and the waiter went and sat with her.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think she was supposed to be going on a date because she was like dressed up and like at a booth. Yeah. She was at a booth, like
she
waiting for somebody.
Yeah. And the waiter sat down and sat with her for like a few minutes.
And I know Alex wanted to go sit with her.
I was heartbroken. Like the whole time she's like, Alex, mind your business. I'm like watching the entire time because I saw her walk in and you could tell she put, when you like put a lot of effort into your outfit and everything. And she
felt good and you just watched her like,
Window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was so like, I was really happy that, the guy who was working at the restaurant sat with her for a little bit.
Maybe that's her man.
Exactly.
Maybe that was supposed to happen.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's your lane. Maybe that's your man.
Right.
And then there were other women who like weren't, necessarily in a situation where they may or may not have been stood up, but were just there. It looked like they showed up there alone on a Friday night, dressed up, and they were taking themselves out. And then there were tables of what appeared to be black straight men who were
amongst themselves,
sitting across from these women, not engaging. Having drinks and food. There was another one who was sitting with a woman that was not a black woman, but he went and met her. She may have been sitting at the table, and then he came over and sat with her, or he was there already and she came over and sat with him.
I don't remember.
Needless to say, it was really interesting for me to see that, and it made me question, like, what is happening to, like, the idea of, like, men approaching women and showing interest? Because more and more, we don't hear as much of it. Everyone adjusted.
So, do we think that, like, the group thing is an issue? I feel like sometimes when women hang around in, like, large groups, maybe, and men too, it's harder for men to, or, like, they feel a little bit more insecure with approaching people.
Right, because your friends might
clown you. Like, don't go out with 4 or 5 girls. Like, please, if you're, like, single, like, go one girl. Like, me and Alex would hit the streets together. And they were like, and you two, it would be, like, the 3 of us, and we would go out, and it was, like, very intentional. But sometimes, like, I feel like if there's 6 or 5 girls, or whatever, it's
intimidating.
like,
unless it's a group of them.
And even still, it's like, which one do you choose now? Because there's 6 of you and there's 5 of me.
Like, all of these women were alone.
I don't know.
And so some of it could have been intentional and some of it could not. Because I also was telling you guys before we started, like, I had gone to a Must Love Beers party, which I feel like is a thing, especially in New York. And I went in Atlanta and there were groups of men talking to each other. And I'm like, I don't know if they're gay or not. But there were so many women there that nobody was talking to. And they were beautiful and, again, looked like they took time to take care of themselves, like to get ready. This one girl was like on her ass drunk and guys are like, hey. And I'm like, that's weird.
No.
So it was like,
it's like less resistance. It's like,
right, but
like easy.
Right.
That's scary.
So could it, which is scary and that's a whole nother conversation, but could it be like some of the other groups of women that the group of men didn't feel like they could approach them or should approach them? Or do men, I don't know. I
think it's a balance, right? I feel like as a woman, I even have to catch myself sometimes. I'm like, okay, you gotta smile. Like you just have to be like,
thank you.
You gotta validate
because maybe I don't. I'm always like,
I think sometimes like we have to also be mindful of like, are we giving off energy that is? I actually was talking about this with my therapist. Like, are you giving off energy that's like approachable or just like open?
See, I don't think I give off approachable energy.
Right, and so
I look very.
You don't have to change who you are, but I think that like, and that's something I've sort of become more aware of, like in dating, is like, what kind of energy are you giving off? And sometimes that's like, if you're giving off standoff energy, you're gonna probably attract something that's standoffish or not attract anything.
You're gonna
at
repel
all.
everyone.
So I think there's like also like you have to be mindful of like the energy that you're giving out, and then at the same time, I think we also have to like realize that men. I still like am of the mind that like men should approach women. That's like I think women should, like, there's nothing wrong with like, making a joke with a guy or like, saying something funny, you see something common like with him, fine. But like, I'm kind of old school in that way. Yeah. And I think that we also have to realize that like men also deal with a lot of rejection and they have really fragile like egos. You know what I mean? And they also deal with a lot, but they internalize it and they don't really like manage it in the same way that a lot of women do. So I think that either like they could be just going for something that feels like easier, right? Or it's like a sure bet. So maybe that means the super drunk girl or the girl that's by herself in the environments, which is like why you're saying like, oh, go with 1 or 2 people. But I don't know. I feel like we also have to be like gentle sometimes with men, a little bit. Amber, with the right men. Not all the men with the podcast, but like with the right men.
I think it's location too. Like when you go out, like physical location. When you go out, like don't sit at a table. Like it's hard. Like sit at the bar. Like it's actual. It's like it seems small and like you may be comfortable at the table. I get it. We're not here for comfort, sis.
Yeah.
We're here to hang out.
We're here
and meet a guy. We're here to meet somebody. Like you could be comfortable in your pajamas later with him. But
right now,
stand at the bar. Go to
Yeah.
places where like the guys that you would like to be back to your lane. Like if you like a guy that watches sports, if you like more of a manly man, go to a sports bar. Go to Tower. You know, wherever you are. But like you'll have to go to those places because that's where they are. They're not going to the wine bar. They're not eating sushi.
They are
like,
not.
She's looking at me.
And I was like, yeah, we can get sushi, but like
your man isn't there.
They might be like in Atlanta. They're not at brunch.
For me because that's like all the shit that I like.
But of course, but like, I think every woman likes that. Like, of course, we all like it, but you have to be a little bit more strategic and to find someone like that's in your lane. So if you like, I don't know, books, go to.
A library.
I don't know.
Like
the library, I guess.
A book club, join a book club.
That's not where I'm going to find somebody. But yes, the book club or something like that, you have to go where they are. And then also when you're there, you have to be like, sit at the bar. Don't sit at a table.
Approachable.
Like, be approachable.
Smile.
Like, face out. Like, engage.
Like,
make eye contact. Like, do all those things.
Eye contact is hard for me.
Is it?
When someone I find myself, when I know you, it's not.
Okay.
I feel like when I'm like somebody's walking towards me or like looking, I'm like,
I
don't want to make eye contact with you. Or like, I feel like I have a great smile, but then when it's like, smile because somebody's looking at you, I'm like, and maybe that's not the reality, but in my head, I'm awkward. In my head, I'm so awkward. And I'm like, ugh. So I've probably walked past the person and I just looked like, don't you say anything.
Right, see?
I think it's very possible.
You might be doing it and not even realizing it. And I think a lot of us are. And I think depending on the day, maybe that's how you're feeling.
Yeah,
but
and that's cool.
Being self-aware enough.
You just gotta manage your expectations. But like if you know what, I just had a long day, so I just need to be out right now. That's just what it is. I have no other ulterior motive.
Yeah, but what if your person is there?
They could be.
But if he's there, he's there.
Ships passing in the night.
Listen, the man or woman that's for you ain't never gonna pass you.
That's true.
Okay.
How do
they come back? He can be walking by, and you're walking by, and
you got your head down.
Maybe your paths will go across again.
All right. I mean,
but then you have to do something different, though. But then that's part of like,
exactly.
Thank you, Joy.
It's like, I saw this guy last week. I should smile at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, I think I saw you here last week.
Oh my God, that's how Rasheen got me. Bro. He's like, I met you before. I'm like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And then the conversation started.
Yeah.
So
because you were open to it.
I was open to it.
Yeah.
See?
Because what's the worst that could happen? They say, hey, I don't like you.
But I think a lot of people, to Zane's point,
like
a lot of people don't like rejection. And so people don't approach people or don't shoot their shot.
That's true.
Especially women.
I think
because we're not used to being rejected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for women,
because then it feels like a personal attack.
Yeah, like,
you don't like me. I'm ugly or I'm this or that or I'm not enough.
And it can be like, he can be like, I'm broke. I don't have a job. Or like, I got a baby on the way. It can be anything.
Yeah. I think for women, you need to wait for the signal to approach. Like, I feel like if you are going to approach,
what's the signal?
Maybe you guys are standing together at the bar and, he's ordering a drink and maybe he like smiles or like something about
the
his
eye contact.
Energy. Yeah, you guys have like a little
eye sex, as my friend says.
And it's not necessarily.
My friend says eye sex. She'll like walk over.
Yeah.
She'll be like, oh, like he's making eye sex.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it works.
Yeah.
It's eye contact.
Yeah, it is.
But then there are the girls. I'm thinking about some of my clients. Mm-hmm. There are the girls who every man that's nice to them or kind to them, they think likes them. And I'm that might not be if somebody flirting with you. That person could just be nice.
They could be from the South.
And so and so then they get disappointed if it doesn't go further.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say is that it's not necessarily an approach, but it's a gate to a conversation, right? So it might be like, oh, like you're getting an old fashioned, like what do you like to put in yours or something like that. And then you see if, something develops from there. I think that's like a safe way to like open up a conversation or to show that like, hey, I'm open and friendly.
Right.
So like we could chat more like, oh, you're a Knicks fan. I'm a Celtics fan. Boo. Like something like finding a way to like create that banter is often a nice way. But you're right. You do have to be able to identify like, no, this person is just nice and friendly. And that's all this exchange was. This is not going to be my boyfriend.
I think that like, I think the way things close is like it tells all. Like if it's an abrupt like departure, if it's like a slow or they're hanging around or like that, they ask you for your number. So I think there's also like that part too, and you can kind of you can honestly like decipher quite easily. Oh, they're married. I mean, assuming they're not wearing a ring. But like, you know, like they already have a partner. Like, you know, you can kind of like go through a list. Like,
I think the clothes is up to the man. I think if the woman,
so you wouldn't ask, like, can I get your number?
No, because you're supposed to ask me
I've said take my number down before, and it worked out fine.
How many drinks have you had when you said that?
I'm sure enough.
Because then you're like, open and loose.
I mean, granted, like that's not my husband, but
like,
you know, sometimes things are just supposed to be for
the
a couple of weeks. Yeah. That means like that's like not everything is supposed to be like long term.
Yeah. My old therapist used to say that you don't have to get attached to an end goal being this is my husband. This could be somebody that I met at the bar and I had a great conversation with, and then we left it at that. Or this is somebody I went on a few dates with. I had a great time and I left it at that. Like, you don't have to get so attached, because then it takes away some of that disappointment. Because it's like, well, I enjoyed myself, or I'm not enjoying myself and I don't want to be with you anyway.
Right.
Do you think that you should actually date like that because it avoids expectations, like undue expectations on the person? Like, should we just all go into initial dating just not being so attached? Because if you're saying like you're thinking about an end goal, that's a lot of expectation you're putting on this person you just met last week.
You don't even know if
and they're like,
you don't
and
even
they
know
can
if you
feel
like
it,
them.
right?
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, she's doing a lot with me right now.
Or it's giving desperate.
And it's giving desperate.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how
I find that like
things.
really hard with online dating, because I feel like people are always like, oh, like I'm looking for whatever, right? I'm looking to settle down. I'm looking to like, you know, date intentionally, date seriously. I feel like I hear that a lot more, at least among people like in my age group. But it's like you can be on the same timeline as somebody, but all the other things don't sync up.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is also a waste of time. Not a waste of time, but like, you know, this is also like a dub. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
But I think you can have the same common goal, but that doesn't mean that you have to put the expectation on that person. Like, yes, we both want to get married, and we like this is what we want in the end. But I don't have to put that on you just yet when I just met you last week. Like, I don't think you should go in with these heavy weighted expectations. Like, it takes the fun out of it. It takes the life out of it.
Like,
so you can definitely date with intention. Like, sure, like this is what you want, whatever. But I don't have to put my end goal on you right now.
I want to get married. I want to get married to you.
Like, I want to get married. Yes. Let's have fun. Let's hang out.
You might not be that person.
Exactly. You're putting this stress on this person when they're like,
because then it doesn't feel like, and then it doesn't feel like you want to marry that person.
Right.
It just feels like you want to be married. And I feel like that is such a red flag for me. It's like, it's fine to like want to be married. It's fine to like want to have all of those things. But like, is it the outcome you're attached to? Or is it the person that you're trying to seek partnership with? And like, I think kind of, you know, from men, I'm sure that they feel that. And I only speak, you know, from that perspective, because I think a lot of times it's women that, you know, want to have those kinds of conversations. And I think for men, they probably feel that, right? They're like, it's not even about me per se. Like, it's just like, you just want to get married. You know, but like, it's not really that you love me so much.
Right. It's like a placeholder.
I've definitely dated people who are like, like, oh, you like the idea of me. Right. Like, you like the idea of Amber, but like, you don't really know me. Like, so you say you want to get married, but like, you don't really, it's not me. I could be anybody.
Right.
That happens a lot, and I feel like men do like express that sometimes, like when they're like, and it causes a bad taste in the relationship, right? Because nobody wants to feel like that, and I think for men, I'm pretty sure that many of them have had that, you know, experience where they're like, I'm dating this girl, I like her a lot, and it's fine, but like this whole like outcome that she keeps talking about really feels more about like her living on this timeline as opposed to like her wanting to create a life with me.
But men do the same thing too. I've seen men marry women like, she's just the person that you were dating at the time that you were ready to get married. So this is the person that you married. Like this was all timing.
There's sometimes this outside pressure too to like do a thing that you don't want to do. And it's like, I think we were talking about it earlier, like being honest with yourself of like, do I actually want this right now?
Right.
Or is it like somebody else said that this is the timeline I have to be on?
Absolutely.
Especially like turning 40.
Yeah. I think that like being in long-term relationships too.
Stressed.
There are things I always like want to express, like it's an ongoing It's a progress that you're always like learning and trying to be better for yourself first, obviously, and also for like your partner. So it's not like everything is great. Like once you're okay, I'm done. Like it's actually fine now. No, like if there's just new things that you have to
very different things
learn and get better at. And it's not like, okay, I've identified my lane, I've met my partner, we're good to go. No, it's a constant progress. It's a constant process that you really do have to commit to.
Yeah.
And I think that could get very dicey if you're not clear on like who you are and like what it is that you want for your partner and for yourself together. Yeah. So there was a conversation kind of staying in that space.
Take a sip.
The way she started this off.
There was a post that I saw a few weeks ago on social media. Queen Naja and her partner were giving relationship advice to someone, and the question had come up. It was like something to the effect of like, should you break up if you're not engaged after a certain amount of time? Something, I think the number was 10 years.
Engaged for 10 years?
I think
if you're not engaged by
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it made me think a lot about like, what's the real question? Like, is the question, because to me, the way I heard it was that your real question is about commitment.
Yeah.
And so like for you, for whatever reason, the engagement equaled a commitment or a certain level or a different level of commitment.
Okay.
That's the way I received the message as I was watching it, because like that's what the exchange was between Queen Naja and her man. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Queen Naja said to the person who called in or whatever that they should leave, that she should, break up with her partner, which is interesting because Queen Naja has been in this long-term relationship
for a very long time.
Because I feel like her kid is almost 10.
Oh, wow. Exactly.
Not the baby.
But I think that, the whole idea of timelines is something that we're often talking about, right? Especially like when you are 40 or baby 40 or however you want to define yourself. But I think that essentially it's so important to get clear on like what it is that you want out of your relationship, but then also like have communication with your partner about what you guys are doing, to grow towards that next phase.
Yeah.
I know that the last time we had this conversation, Joy, we were talking about how it was something that you constantly have to commit. Like,
you have to show up every day.
And you have to, And I know Amber and I talk about this a lot, and Zany is like, are we gonna, go, all in on this? Are we gonna have this argument today, or are we gonna like sit this one out?
Yeah. Today's the day. Sometimes I was like, it's happening right now. I'm all in.
It's like, hold on, I'm about to argue.
Yeah, I'll call you back.
But I think that like that's a real depiction of like what it is like often, especially now, like, living in a city and like everyone's still growing and like trying to figure themselves out. There's this constant work that we're doing, while being in these committed, serious relationships, and like questioning yourself around like, what's the timeline? Am I happy with this timeline? Am I just assimilating to
whose timeline is it?
Whose timeline
is it yours? Is it like social media's timeline? Or it doesn't have to be yours. Yeah. And I had to like talk myself off of that ledge many times. Like I had a timeline, but it's like, this is not really my timeline. Yeah. This is like what I see on Instagram. And
what I was told.
To, like, what I was told it should be, or like at what age, what should happen. And I may not actually feel that way if I really like ask myself and check myself. This is just what I feel it should be from looking at everybody else. Yeah. Or like at my friends or at social media, and that's not real.
Mm-hmm.
That's great advice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. But it's true.
For like single and in relationship girls, it's like you can't. There's no number. Like you make it up.
Yeah.
You make it up. You and your partner make it up. If you're with somebody, there's my clients have breakdowns at 28.
Yeah. Girl, 28.
28 is like, oh my God, my life is over. I'm like, ooh.
Do they live in the city?
They do.
Oh, I don't know.
They do. Yeah. And I'm just like, you don't have to be married and have 5 children by 30.
Right.
You are fine.
Actually, you shouldn't.
You actually should not.
You should not.
Like,
your
life is
those are
just
the people.
starting.
Just getting good.
Oh my
You
God.
don't even know
Just
who you
getting
are.
good.
You don't know what you
Yeah.
like.
You start making a little money.
You don't know
Yeah.
what kind of
You can
guys
do a
you
lot of
like.
things.
I'm like, get in your
Exactly.
30s and figure it
Yes.
out. But I think we've been taught so much that, like, if it doesn't happen by 30 or 35, then it's never going to happen. And it's like, shut up.
But
It's
there's
not
also
real.
a
It's
lot
not
of
real.
messaging,
Yeah,
whether
there's
it's
a lot of
direct or
messaging.
underlying to women that like, oh, if you're past like 35, then essentially you've missed your window for many different things. And I think that like you have to be the one to like identify like this person is, you know, pushing their ideas on me and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
But it's ongoing. Like these are the messages that women are hearing all the time.
And it's everywhere. It's social media. It's your environment.
Yeah.
It could be family.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
be friends.
So many people are like, my parents keep being like, when am I going to be a grandmother? I'm like,
Every
you
Thanksgiving.
are 27.
Yeah.
Stop. Just because your mother had 5 kids by 24
That was a different
doesn't
time.
mean you exactly. It's a different time.
That was
and
a
I think
different time.
we have to be honest with ourselves of like, where am I?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it's my life.
Say you got married today. What does even being a wife look
That's
like?
right.
And I think sometimes people
Yes.
can't even answer those questions.
That's
of
right.
Like, well, what I want to be married, but I don't even know what that means. I don't
I
even know what
it means.
that looks like. I've never
Yeah.
seen it.
I don't even know what
also
kind of
not
partner
seeing
I
it
want.
is a big
not-
thing.
Yeah.
Because I like a lot of men haven't seen
Haven't
marriages.
seen
A lot
it.
of women haven't seen it
Yeah.
either, and you don't know what it's supposed to be. You just
Yeah.
like see on TV or like
Yeah.
the Cosby Show or whatever. What you
Right.
think
And
it's
even
supposed to
that,
be.
it's like, what is actually like a healthy marriage?
Right.
Even if you have witnesses. So
Yeah.
it's like,
it could be toxic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to share. So like when I hit 35,
Last year.
all these things. When I turn 35 next year. But I was talking to my therapist. This was like probably like a year's worth of work because like I wanted to like get all these. I have like a checklist of all these things. I got to freeze my eggs. I got to do all these things.
Yeah.
For 35, things did not turn out the way I wanted to, and I was just like, I was so like depleted and like defeated. I was like, what? Oh my God, like what happened? Like I followed the book.
Yeah.
I followed the rule book.
Yeah.
Like I went to school. I got a good job. I worked hard.
Yeah.
I found a job that could pay for the things that I like. I did all the things. Like
Yes.
why am I not getting whatever this like you know,
Thing
like
is.
aha moment? And then it wasn't through like a lot of self-work, which I'm still doing, but that my therapist was like, okay, so what happens when you get there? She was like,
Yeah.
what happens? And I was like,
You don't get a prize.
no. And I was
Yes.
like, I don't know. Like,
Right.
when she's like, are you going to be happier? And I was like,
Or will you just add more things to that
yeah.
list?
She was
Right.
like,
The list
what
doesn't
are
stop.
The list
right.
doesn't
The list
stop.
doesn't stop.
right? And that's what I realized. Like what I was like chasing was something completely different. There was like other things that I needed to deal with. And once I started to do that work, I was like, oh my God, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm lighter.
You're great.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm like, whatever's
Take
that.
that.
Yeah,
golden.
yeah. I'm, like,
Yeah.
I'm chilling. But it's hard to get there.
It is. That's work.
Yeah.
Did it. One of my old clients told me about this movie called Soul. Have you ever seen Soul? It's a cartoon.
Yeah, with Eddie Murphy. Yes.
The music
Because
thing.
she,
a good movie.
she always felt like once I get to here, I have made it.
Yes.
And then
That's true.
so watch Soul if you've never watched Soul. But it's just kind of one of those things of like you keep creating. You have the list, you have the goal, you get there, and it's like, what if it doesn't do what you thought it was going to do? Then what? Do you then add something else, or are you then disappointed and then you give up?
Yeah.
So like,
Right.
she's saying like, find something else that brings you.
Is there a
that
pot of
something.
gold at the end? Like
Exactly.
what?
Yeah.
Is there $1 million?
No.
Yeah.
No.
No.
You just got another thing on the list.
Right.
It's like, all right, well,
More
now let
stress.
me move on to the
Yeah.
next
Right.
thing, and you know, it's like, how do you find this joy in these the small accomplishments that you
Yes.
have every day?
Yeah.
Instead of all of these large
Yeah.
external.
I'm not
signs
enough
of
until I
success.
am a mom.
Yeah.
I'm not enough until I am a
Yeah.
wife. Until
Yeah.
I get this kind of job. Until I'm making this kind of money. Like,
But
Which
what
I
does
feel
it
like
look like intrinsically?
All goes back to like dating and just like being open. Like sometimes it's, which is not how I always thought, but like you don't need to have like these like hardline expectations. You
Exactly.
just kind of just let it flow and like
Yes.
feel it
Let
out.
it flow. I've had to learn that.
What is
'cause I
it,
was
be
not letting
water?
it flow.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to let it flow.
water. Go ahead,
I
let
like
your
that.
ears go under the water.
I almost feel like we should end with a meditation.
Go ahead and float. It's not easy, but I think that if you're committed to like that ongoing growth and like self-awareness and reflection about like where you are, what role you're playing, and you like getting to that long-term, you know, fulfillment and happiness is, I think that's a That's a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
I feel like I have some tools now. I know I have to get my math together.
First and foremost, math.
Lane math.
And I do. Me and I'm sure a lot of single girls need to leave our houses.
You have to leave your house.
You're not
Have
gonna
to leave the
find
house,
somebody
yeah.
in your house. Because I also tried to date somebody who worked in my complex, and that was not great. So leave your house, leave your community, maybe
strategy.
sometimes.
Leave your building.
yeah, leave your building.
Leave
is
your
step
building,
one.
especially if you're not like a app girl.
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
liked the idea, like, go to where your interests are. If you like
Yes.
sports, go hang out at a sporting event, sports bars, etc. You know,
Or if you want a man, that
Or if
likes
you
sports.
like
if you want
a
a
guy
man
that's
who
into
likes
sports,
yeah,
then that's where
do
you
that.
need to go.
Yeah.
You know, if you like books, check out a book club or
Yeah.
like
Go to the gym.
Go
to
If
the
you
gym.
want a fit guy that's
to the
like
gym.
Yeah.
in shape or that's what you're looking for, go to the gym.
Yeah.
If
I'm
he
not
doesn't-
saying you're
he
gonna
might work there. He might
work
own
there.
it.
He
Yeah.
might own the gym.
He might work out there.
Right.
Yes,
Yep.
you're right.
Yep.
He may be a trainer, whatever it is though, but like it could be daily. Go to the grocery store. I
Yes.
don't know. Go
Yeah.
to
This woman
Whole Foods.
met her husband at the grocery store. She
See?
said single men shop between 4 and 6.
Oh wow, not a time.
And,
Okay.
and I was like,
Not a- what time is that?
well, this is in Georgia. So
Buy somebody's
I
organic.
but I was like, oh, so when I go to Kroger, don't look like I just rolled
Yeah.
up. Okay.
And also, yeah,
and
maybe
smile,
Pull yourself
make eye
together.
contact.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Don't
Don't
be
be
on
on
the
your
grocery
phone.
store.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, let me go back to
Yeah.
my list.
Yeah.
But don't be on your phone so much. Be in the
present.
space.
Yeah.
Be present.
Be
Yes,
present.
yes.
Put your shoulders back.
Sit
Take
at
up
the bar.
space,
Yeah.
Smile.
Takes her at the bar.
Just relax.
Sit at the
Yeah.
bar. Don't sit at a table.
Don't listen to other people's
Don't listen to
timelines for
other
yours.
people.
Or don't listen to other people, period.
Yeah, don't listen to
Right.
people at all. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Do your own thing.
Actually, you just wasted your time listening to this podcast.
I am not an expert.
Don't listen to anything we have to say. But most of all, just like love yourself. Give
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
grace.
Yeah.
Understand that it's a process. It's not black and white.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll get there
Yes.
if that's truly what you want. But it's going to take a little bit of work.
And once
Yeah.
you get there, it's just gonna be more work.
That's it.
So it's just
Girl,
it's just
it's a
constant
different
progress.
type of work.
The work don't stop.
It's a
You're
whole
like,
different,
it's that.
a whole different lane and
Yes.
a list that you have to go through.
Yes.
It's very
Just look
different.
different.
Yeah, we'll be having another episode about what
Okay,
that
now
work
that
looks
you have
like.
reached
Right.
your desired goal,
Yeah.
Now
let's
this
talk
is the
about
other
that.
level work you have to do.
It's a different book. Thank you, ladies, so much
Thank
for
you
being
for having me.
here.
This is so much fun.
Yes, I
You got to
love
come
this.
back.
Gotta
Yes,
come back.
this is so much fun. You guys have a whole new setup. This is beautiful.
I know.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
proud.
thank you. We're glad that you guys came over and shared some of your great
course.
ideas
Thank
with
you.
us. And we are gonna wrap here. Alex just killed the ending. Remember to live a courageous and authentic life. Bye.
Bye.
Killed the ending.
It was beautiful.